I'm sure you've heard me talk about 26shirts.com before, but just in case you haven't, let me fill you in. At 26 Shirts, they sell different limited edition sports-themed t-shirts every 2 weeks. After a shirt's prospective 2-week run is over, the design is retired and never sold again. They are operating out of Buffalo and now also offer options in Chicago. For every shirt sold, $8 is donated to a family in need. Not to a major charity or foundation, but to an actual family or individual in need. To show our support here at Chasing Cinema, when you buy a shirt, we will automatically put you into a drawing to win the next shirt free. That's right. You buy a shirt, $8 goes to help a family or individual in need, and you get a shot to win the next shirt absolutely free from Chasing Cinema. So go to www.26shirts.com and buy a unique Buffalo Sports Design t-shirt, help a great cause, and also get entered to win the next shirt absolutely free. Again, that's 26shirts.com, because you have the ability to help a complete stranger just because it's the right thing to do. www.26shirts.com. Help someone now. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official podcast. If this is the first time listening to this podcast, make sure to go to iTunes and hit that subscribe button so each week, every episode that we do, it automatically downloads to your iTunes and then gets transferred to your iPod, your iPad, your iPhone, whatever it may be. I want to be on whatever listening device you're listening to us on every week, and to do that is to hit the subscribe button. But if you're not an iTunes person, it's okay. Head over to Apple or head over to YouTube and youtube.com/chasing cinema, where we also upload all of our podcasts, as well as we upload movie news 5 times a day and movie reviews. So all that is available and more there. And of course, ChasingCinema.com is the hub of everything that we do. And when I say we, let me introduce myself. My name is Jacob Toronto. I enjoy my little faithful co-host / best friend,
Louis Corzo.
And today we're going to be talking about the world of motion picture and wrapping up by talking about the new film, Jurassic World. Louis, my good friend, my co-host, how have you been?
I've been well. Hanging in there. Same old, you know. Can't complain. And if I would, who would listen? Type of deal.
Technically, I'd have to.
Yeah, technically. But then again, you don't. You could have a Larry David moment and just tell me to be quiet.
That's true.
You know, since you're watching Curb. So, but I've been okay. How about you?
I've been good. Same old, I guess. Watching movies. Speaking of movies and television, Lou, what have you been watching lately?
I've been actually catching up somewhat. Granted, it might not be new, but it's still stuff that I've been wanting to watch. Recently I caught it was just out of the blue. I haven't planned this one, but it was Tom Cruise, Risky Business. And I've seen that a long time ago, but I just recently watched it again, and I forgot how much I enjoyed that film. It was just terrific to see that again and just get up in the Tom Cruise, phenomenon when he was young and just coming on the screen. He was so energetic in that and fresh-faced in that film, and that was just great. The soundtrack's great. It's like a definite 80s type feel of a movie, and it's so nice to pop that on and say, yeah, that's definitely 80s, early 90s vibe coming off that. I was just surprised how much I enjoyed it this time around compared to the first time. First time I did enjoy it, but not as much as this time. Maybe because I am older and wiser, but it was just great, I
think I'm with you. I feel like I've not seen the movie in a very long time, so maybe it's worth rewatching.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely recommend seeing that again. Just seeing Tom Cruise interact with, his friends and of course the, his love interest in the film, if you would. It's great. And I forgot that Ralphie from The Sopranos is in it. Joe Paplatino, what was it? Do you remember his last name?
No, not off the top of my head.
Yeah, and he was in it, and he's always good in his, the sleaze bag type character. Pantoliano, something like that. But yeah, Rebecca De Mornay was in it, and him and her and Cruise is great. It was just fun. It was just a surprising good watch. So I've seen that. And then other than that, I've been catching up on some Louis C.K. material. Ever since he was on the final episode of SNL, which I thought he was great on, especially his opening monologue, I've been meaning to go back and, watch a couple of his stand-ups. So I started off with Hilarious. It came out in 2009. And that's, great, Louis C.K.
I watched them all at one point. But I don't remember. I mean, I watched them in order, and I think Hilarious was the last one I watched because that was the one that just came out. But I haven't seen any since. And to be honest, I don't really remember any of them, but I remember loving every single one.
Yeah, and I've seen other ones before. I like that the Beacon Theater, I think, was one, or some type of theater, and a lot of them do kind of bleed in because he does talk about the same type of topics. But very hilarious. So I watched that, and that led me into watching his show. I've seen it some on TV. I've caught season 5, the new one that came out. I don't know why, but I should have watched it in order first. But I caught that. But I said, you know what? Might as well go back and watch the first 4 seasons of Louis. So I did that. I just finished it, and I was expecting at first a sitcom tradition, kind of like Seinfeld. Here's a comedian. Mm-hmm. He's going to do his stand-up, and we're going to follow his daily life. And for the most part, Louis does stick to that because you see him working in the Comedy Cellar, doing his stand-up, and that features on the show. And then you see him interacting with his 2 dogs and his dating life. But it's so not traditional, the sitcom. You definitely could call it a sitcom, but Louis does a lot to try to make you use other words to describe the show. And, he writes and directs every episode, which is just amazing. And it is very funny. If you love his stand-up, you're going to love his show because he brings those same topics and applies it to his everyday life. And some of it's funny, some of it's just regular life. He makes tragedy, death, all these taboo topics that we still don't like to talk about it. He brings it up and he makes it funny. And the show is very much a drama, which is kind of surprising than it is a sitcom. The one criticism I would have to say is the storylines don't really follow from episode to episode, season to season. And I remember, I think Seinfeld and Larry David were talking about when they were making Seinfeld, that the one thing they wanted to add to Seinfeld was that every episode has to kind of relate to another episode because they were tired of watching TV shows where this would happen in episode 10 and whatever happened in episode 10 didn't matter in episode 11, 12, and so forth. They didn't like that. And Louis falls victim to that. Mm-hmm. And I know one example, his niece comes and her mom gets in the hospital. Something happens, the father's not in town, and he has to watch her. Yeah, the niece has to live with him, and the episode ends like that. But the very next episode, she's not there.
Gotcha.
And that's at first I'm like, wow, what's come on, what's up? But if you kind of look at it as a non-traditional sitcom and view it as just short films, then it makes perfect sense because I think that's what Louis is trying to do, and I kind of got that towards the end of season 3. Season 4, where every episode's so unique that in the next episode, previous episode, because he's just trying to create a surreal, realistic at the same time environment. Whatever's funny, whatever works, whatever he's feeling that day or that for that episode, he's going to do it. He's not going to be constrained by your coherent storylines. So I do respect that. He has a great vision, a great eye, and I know he signed on to direct and write a cop comedy. Mm-hmm. I don't know when that comes out, but I'm looking forward to that because this be his first time directing a movie since Pootie Tang.
Yeah, Pootie Tang.
It's definitely unique, his show and his style.
Did you get a chance to go look up Lucky Louie?
Lucky Louie, as stand-up?
No. Lucky Louie was actually his first television show that he had in 2006. It actually was an HBO show, and it had 13 episodes. And according to Louis C.K., there was an exec that just literally hated that show, so it was canceled. and after 13 episodes. So then he would go on to obviously do a lot more of the stand-ups, and then 2012, he would end up doing, even earlier than that, 2011.
Yeah, earlier.
2010, yeah. He did Louis, so it wasn't long after, luckily it was canceled, but there's 13 episodes of a show that is more sitcom-ish from what I remember, about him starring him called Lucky Louie.
Yeah, I had never heard of it. Maybe I have, but I definitely didn't see it. The only TV show I watch of CK's is the one that airs on FX titled Louie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of funny that you point that out to me, because in one of the episodes, he tries to get a sitcom going, and you see him on set, and it's very much a traditional sitcom where there's a live audience, they laugh at everything, and he said, no, I can't do this, so maybe it's from his passage. So
because actually it was the first HBO sitcom filmed in front of a live audience. And they made it apparent every episode that it was filmed in front of a live audience, but a lot of people complain because they still use laugh tracks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, I got to check that out. Hopefully it's on the HBO.
I think I watched one episode.
Go now.
But, Louis C.K. is really talented, and he's been around longer than a lot of people kind of, known. I mean, him and Chris Rock go way back, obviously. Mm-hmm. Him being the, I believe, writer and director for Pootie Tang.
Which is amazing. Yeah. Like, you would never think of that combination right there.
And a movie that me and you kind of always go back to and talk about. He wrote Down to Earth, the film with Chris Rock as well.
And I do love that one.
It's a great movie, but they collaborate a lot, him and Chris Rock. So I would love to see a movie with them two in it, together, really kind of doing something. But I'm sure he appeared in Top 5 or had something to do in Top 5. Did he not?
Honestly, I don't remember seeing Louis C.K. in Top 5 at all. But Chris Rock does appear in his TV show quite a bit.
Oh, he's appeared in Louis?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
On multiple occasions. So has Seinfeld, Sarah Silverman, Robin Williams had a guest spot for one episode, which is very bittersweet to watch. I think Jim Norton's there frequently.
So it doesn't say that he appeared on
Top 5.
Top 5. But yeah, he also wrote the screenplay for I Think I Love My Wife. So pretty much
that's amazing.
Yeah, he's done pretty much all of Chris Rock's movies essentially.
And because I love Down to Earth. Like, I know it's not critically acclaimed, and a lot of I don't know what Chris Rock's fans think of it per se. But I remember going, when I was younger, I thought that movie was hilarious and amazing, especially the whole DMX song.
Yeah,
Rough Riders anthem, so funny. I think I Love My Wife is also pretty good, different. Mm-hmm. But now I'm kind of looking back, I can see kind of Louis C.K. wrote it, because I remember so vividly watching it. Chris Rock says in the movie, I hate when people say life is short. And he says, that's BS. Life is long and full of mistakes and choices that you have to live with the rest of your life. And that's a stand-up joke that Louis used on his show recently. Mm-hmm. So looking back, it's kind of cool to see him, have such a diverse career. You wouldn't think he would.
Yeah. And just to give you a heads up, well, not to, a heads up isn't the right word, but just to let you know, I don't know if you're curious, Louis, but Down to Earth, a 20% on critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 41% user score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay, so a little higher.
So we're definitely in the majority of liking this movie.
Maybe I have to watch it again.
Or minority, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time. No. And mind you, it was 14 years ago that movie came out. So
yeah. But I have to say, I have watched that film multiple times. I can't give you the count, even when it was on TV, because it was on kind of day too. I would catch it half here, half there. I actually own the DVD copy.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it every time. Now,
I remember watching a lot when it came out, but I don't remember a recent time of actually watching it.
And come on, I think we both liked Bad Company too back in the day, which everyone disliked. Another Chris Rock film everyone disliked.
What are you gonna do? Chris Rock's good, and who better else to tag team with Anthony Hopkins?
I know. And actually that was on not too long ago on VH1.
I actually recently watched that.
Yeah,
I don't remember where, but I actually watched it. Yeah.
that's amazing. I remember you liking that a lot, and you
That's
introduced
because
that.
I'm a huge Anthony Hopkins
The
fan.
Hopkins fan.
And he's good in it. I don't care what anyone says.
He's good at anything. He's Sir Anthony Hopkins.
He's good in everything. Oh man. So
So I finished Louis. Definitely recommend. Definitely different, unique. And props to Louis C.K. I'm excited to see his movie actually. Whenever he gets that rolling, I think that'd be interesting. Hopefully he does well. He deserves it. Moving on, recently Netflix released the season 3 of Orange is the New Black.
now, was I wrong? Was that movie supposed to come out like on Christmas or
No,
like in December?
What, the Orange is the New Black?
Mhm.
December. I always heard this date in June 12th.
Okay.
I never heard Christmas. Maybe in the beginning stages they wanted to do Christmas, but I think like someone, because they did release it. The term Christmas in July,
Heard.
even though it's not July.
Heard.
So like I never heard Christmas in June. So because like I think on the cover it looks like it had Christmas lights.
Uh-huh.
Well,
aren't they on like candles or something? Isn't that like the image? They're like
it could be like I didn't focus hard on it, but I saw that like from like glancing at it.
Yeah.
It did look like Christmas lights around, but it could be candles. Is that where you got Christmas from or no?
No, I remember there
Okay.
like being Christmas lights or something from that image.
Yeah.
But then like I looked and I thought they were on like like on religious candles.
It could be.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is like go. But yeah, so that came out. Now granted, like, it just came out, so I didn't watch all of it, and I was having difficulties with Netflix. I would have watched more, but I did watch the season 1 premiere of Orange is the New Black, and it reminded me how good the show is and how much I enjoyed it. It's such a different approach, and it's so fresh because it's mostly made up of a female cast, which is terrific, and all these characters in the show are so independent and uniquely created that each one of them can have their own TV show, and it would be so interesting. Like the best aspect of Orange is the New Black is like the main character, Piper, is not the most interesting character in the show. That's how interesting all the other supporting characters are. And in just watching this first season and getting back into the groove of Litchfield and seeing the inmates again, it's like, man, I missed the show. And I didn't think I gave it enough credit like the previous 2 seasons when we talked about it. But maybe that's because you haven't watched it yet, and we didn't talk much about it. But man, that's a fine, good show, and one that should get more accolades, more appreciations, and it's probably one of the best shows going right now, if not top 2, top 5. I'm not going to call out HBO and Game of Thrones fans because they're crazy, but it's such a good show.
Now, you've only seen one episode of season 3.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to judge, but do you think it'll
Absolutely.
be do you think it'll be more satisfying than House of Cards season 3?
You know what? I think so. I do, and I don't get me wrong. I love House of Cards, and I was one of the supporters of season 3. I didn't think it was that bad as many people made it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think because they're not dealing. House of Cards is dealing with politics so much, and him being the president, I really thought put a handicap on what they could do with the show.
Mm-hmm.
Being president, you could do only so much. You expect him killing everyone. You can't necessarily. But dealing with inmates, multiple characters, I think they're in a groove right now where they know what they're doing. They're showing individual stories. They're doing the flashback. They're creating drama. Genji Kohan knows what he's doing with the characters, and I think it's just in the perfect groove that, I do expect season 3 to be more satisfying than House of Cards.
All right. Well, I have decided that I need to watch House of Cards amongst many shows. So hopefully I'll get that watched. How many episodes per season?
13.
Okay, lucky 13, huh?
And it's an hour about an hour per episode.
Okay, they're
But they fly by, man. It's such a good show.
Well, I'm in the process of finishing Curb Your Enthusiasm again.
Another great show.
Yeah. I don't know why.
One of my favorites.
Instead of starting new shows, I always go back to ones that I've seen. Like, I think I've gone through the Seinfeld series probably 5 times.
Yeah.
Easy.
Well, it's a classic.
This is my second time going through Curb, but it's well worth a visit.
Larry David is a comedic genius. Like, I know there's a lot. He's very popular.
Pretty good.
I think he deserves more than Pretty.
Good.
But
the whole cast in that show is great, though.
It's great. He's just such a brilliant mind that all the deserve he gets is not enough. And he just had a Broadway show, Fist in the Dark. He wrote he wrote the screenplay.
Producers?
No, yeah, he wrote it, and they want him to guest star in it, and I guess be the lead in it. And he reluctantly agreed to it, and he did. I don't know how many shows, but he did a lot. But now he's stepping down, and Jason Alexander's taking over his spot.
Oh, nice.
So that's gonna work beautifully, and hopefully him stepping down from the play could give him more free time to write more material, and hopefully it's more Curb.
Right. Well, I know, because Curb ended on not an ending point. So
no, I know. Like in a recent interview, like last year, he said he would do more, but he doesn't want to do bad ideas. He wants to make another. If he has another Palestinian chicken episode, he's definitely going to do it, but he doesn't want to do bad ideas.
Yeah.
So it's taking him some time.
Do you watch The Simpsons, or have you ever watched The Simpsons?
Not really. I've seen a couple episodes here and then.
I think I've maybe watched 2-3 episodes my entire life. Have you heard about the big news with that?
No.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I know they fired someone.
No. Well, it was recently announced and confirmed, from what it seems like, that there's 2 pieces. Number 1 is that they're going to kill off Bart Simpson. Now, mind you, I know that makes everyone sound skeptical. I'm not a Simpsons watcher. Louis not a Simpsons watcher. But I'm well endowed enough to know that a character named Sideshow Bob has been wanting to kill Bart for a very long time. And in this upcoming season, the show, a lot of the people working on the show, I don't remember if it was the producers or writers, confirmed that Sideshow Bob's one mission in life is going to come to fruition. Now, I don't think they're going to keep him dead, obviously. They need to bring Bart back, so I don't know if it'll be at the end of the episode. I don't know if it'll be like Brian, and they'll kill him off for a few episodes to make people really nervous, but that's going to happen.
Yeah. So I was thinking that, because, like you said, we're Family Guy. They killed off Brian and made a big deal. And
that's because they told everyone, though. They're already saying, oh, yeah, he's going to kill him off. The way that they're approaching it makes it seem like it's not a big deal.
Yeah. That'd be interesting, I guess.
The more interesting piece of news from The Simpsons is that Homer and Marge, after 24 years of marriage, are going to be divorcing. Now, after 24 seasons on air, I think it's 24. I could be wrong. I could be more. It's an interesting way to take the show.
Absolutely.
Again, will they reunite at the end of the season? Do they end up not going through with it? I'm not sure, but it seems that that's going to be a main storyline in the next season. They were saying that Homer discovers that he has epilepsy, and he falls in love with this pharmacist, who's actually played by the star of Girls, Lena Dunham. Is that her name?
Dunham.
Lena Dunham, and she's going to be a character that he falls in love with.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
I wasn't on plan to bring that up, but I just thought those 2 things have been really interesting.
Yeah, because 24 years on television. Right? You said?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure it's 24 years. It couldn't be more.
Yeah, as a married married couple, there's so many different things they have this couple do before it's okay. Let's try something new. And I think divorce is definitely an interesting way to go about it.
But I guess it doesn't really matter for me. Louis is in that we don't really watch the show, but maybe I'll tune in now because this season sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
In movie news, before we get into the blunt of it, it won't be much today, but, unfortunately, we had a tragic loss this week in the world of motion pictures. Though it was announced seemingly a couple of days after it actually happened, legendary actor Sir Christopher Lee, best known for his role as Dracula, played characters in movies like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Star Wars, passed away at the age of 93. So I did it. If you have been on our YouTube channel lately, each day I upload 5 videos a day. And one of the videos I did was a tribute to Christopher Lee, in that I'm talking about his movies that you might not have seen and that I really recommend you go see or you watch. Because me and Louis don't like really talking about this. It's sad. We don't want to make it seem like we're doing it with any wrong intentions. But as far as an artist passing away, especially of this caliber, the only thing we could do is say, let's go back and let's look at the legacy that he left and watch a Christopher Lee film. So for all our listeners out there, I hope you take the time to watch at least one Christopher Lee film, even if it is one you've seen 100 times in like Lord of the Rings or him as Count Dooku in Star Wars. But I really recommend going out of your way and watching something you've not seen him in, and maybe one that he's lesser known for. But great actor. Phenomenal, and it's very sad to hear that happen. But I mean, he was in I believe he was in production of a film. You're still working at 93. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm currently on his IMDb page. They have him listed under actor with 278 credits, and the last one was completed. This is completed 2014, and then Angels in Notting Hill. And then he has he voiced, I guess, a character in Extraordinary Tales, which came out in 2015. So working, to the very end,
There is something he's doing that's coming out in 2016, though, right?
It hasn't said 16.
Oh,
now,
I thought I did.
The last thing, it says completed, but I don't think maybe it didn't get released yet. But it says 2014 in it. So I have, no clue.
But obviously the man, worked up until, his past his 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
So I hope you take the time out to kind of go check that out, because it's the best way to honor someone's legacy like that, who dedicated. Obviously this man wasn't a part-time actor. It wasn't something that he, did on the side. He dedicated his life to acting. So you should respect that and check out some of the stuff that he's done. Yeah, 278 credits. Wow.
That's a lot.
So, beyond the passing of Christopher Lee's death, this week in movie news was interesting. It wasn't anything too spectacular. I would say probably the biggest thing that happened was the release of the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 trailer. Louis, did you watch it?
No, because
a lot of people have, and that's not good.
I know. No, because the day
a lot of people haven't. I'm sorry.
Or haven't?
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone that I asked, they didn't even know the trailer dropped yet, so it's not good.
Yeah, because so I didn't know when did it get dropped? I know this past week, but
2 days ago.
Day? 2 days ago,
maybe Thursday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. So the day it got dropped, I didn't hear about it. I just found out today.
Really?
I'm like, oh wow! I saw the posters and I saw stills of it. I did not watch it yet.
It was a solid trailer. Honestly, I think it's one of the better trailers I've seen this year. As you know, I wasn't a big fan of the last Mockingjay film, and I'm kind of weary going into this picture, but it's kind of cool to see it all kind of come to an end. I mean, Hunger Games has been around for quite some time, and at CinemaCon, talking with director Francis Lawrence, who made this project, he says that this one is going to be great. Obviously, what he's going to, of course, say, but he said this, is going to be a great payoff for the audience. It's going to be very rewarding. And because I don't know how the story ends up happening, or what ends up happening, I'm excited to see how it's going to go down. But the trailer is exciting, and the trailer is like, oh, finally. There's a scene when Katniss is walking towards right in the middle, right to the Capitol, and all of a sudden she's walking by herself, and all of a sudden you see a sea of people start coming in from both sides following her, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Much like you, the last one didn't do anything spectacular for me. Solid but forgettable. I guess is the best way to describe it. So it's going to be cool to see this all come to a head and see, okay, here we go. Here's the climax. Here's the battle. What's going to happen. And if it deviates from the book at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would, but I'm interested in seeing what comes of that and see if people are disappointed or happy with the ending, or, if it changes much.
And I'm excited because this then frees up Jennifer Lawrence's working schedule. No more Hunger Games films. See, this guy finished her X-Men contract, and then she's done.
She'll sign into something else.
Let's see how it goes. So you could do more David O. Russell films.
Louis, have you seen Bad Boys?
I sure have.
Bad Boys 2?
I sure have.
Do you think we need a Bad Boys 3?
I say, why not?
Well, I don't know about you, but I feel like I haven't seen Martin Lawrence since Bad Boys 2. Like, I don't remember the last movie I saw Martin Lawrence in.
Probably the one with Chris Rock at the funeral. Or that film with Danny Glover.
Oh, Death
with
at
Tracy
the Funeral?
Morgan. Yeah. The remake they did.
Woof. I don't remember that for a reason.
Yeah, it wasn't that good. But the reason I say why not is because, you know what? I miss Martin Lawrence. It'd be cool to see him something again for the third time.
That he's going to be teamed up with Will Smith, who will make sure this movie is going to be a box office hit. Now, the reason why I asked Louis this, obviously, is because Joe Carnahan, the man who brought Smoking Aces, it's a little bit of a throwback. That was a long time ago. The A-Team and The Gray. Will be right now is in talks of writing and directing Bad Boys 3. I think it was an interview last year where Martin Lawrence said that he still had interest in doing Bad Boys 3, and it turns out Michael Bay also has the interest, and Will Smith still has interest, and possibly Joe Carnahan. So obviously there's a lot of people who believe in this project. I really remember both 1 and 2. I think they're fun. I don't know how much we need a third. But it'd be kind of nice to see now that there's been such a gap in between them. Like, what are they doing now? Are they retired? Are they still a crazy action driven, risky guys, or are they toned down? Are they older? Kind of like a Lethal Weapon 4 type deal.
Yeah, they have a lot of ways to go with it. And if Joe does sign on and writes and directs this film, I think that's good. You need some new blood into the franchise, if you will. Bring fresh ideas. Everyone loved Gray. It seems like that was well received. So if you could build off of that, it'd be interesting. It'd be cool. The only problem I have doesn't relate too much to the film, but if Will Smith is willing to do this, and then he was so dead set against Independence Day sequel, that scares me, because either two options. One, Independence Day sequel, the script was terrible. And Will Smith was like, whoa, no way I'm getting involved with that. Like, it was bad for Will Smith standards. Yeah. And that's bad, That's not good. Or Will Smith, I don't know. The other option is maybe Will Smith is just
out of his mind.
Something's wrong with him.
Yeah.
That's my only red flag, because now they just released the synopsis to Independence Day 2 with like a poster, and like they're talking about, he has plans for a third one, this and that, but then like they released the cast and Will Smith is not in it. But the character's wife is still in it.
Interesting.
Played by Vanessa Williams?
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting how they do that.
Have you watched Independence Day recently? I honestly have real no recollection of Independence Day, to the point where like I could talk about everything that happens in that movie. I mean, I remember it on a basic level, but it's been a long time since I watched Independence Day.
It has been a long time for me as well. But I did enjoy it. Jeff Goldblum is the man. He's going to be in a sequel, so I'm happy about that. And
he posted the video, a picture on Instagram of him on the set.
So that's cool. But, I did enjoy it. Do we need a sequel of that? Like you asked me for Bad Boys 3? No, probably not. But, it's the way of the future. Everything is a sequel and a franchise nowadays. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, what they do with Will Smith's character.
Well, because I know you're such a Thor fan, let's talk about Thor a little bit right now.
Yes.
Have you heard about Thor?
The actor Thor?
The actor
Chris-
Thor. Chris Hemsworth.
Chris. Well, you keep calling him Thor, so I don't know if you're talking about the Thor, the character, because
The
comic
actor
book.
Thor.
Yes, I heard of my boy Chris Hemsworth. I'm just going to put this on record. He's going to be the best part of the vacation movie.
I doubt that. But
No. He's
did you hear about what else he's attached on now?
Yes. And he could be the best part of this, too.
Go
No,
on.
I doubt
I'll
that.
let you give it to him.
He signed on to play a receptionist.
Receptionist.
Excuse me. For the Ghostbusters new rebooted female cast franchise. How exciting is that?
Because if anything, as much as I remember the first Ghostbusters movie, I definitely remember Ann Potts as the secretary who took no nonsense. She was hilarious. She gave a different style of comedy opposed to the all-male lead cast.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're going to do the complete opposite and taking someone like Chris Hemsworth and sticking him in the receptionist role.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's funny.
I laughed immediately when I heard it. I think it's great too. But I did hear they had to beef up the receptionist role a little bit more for him to actually want to sign on. So I hope it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, but that makes
all
sense,
you need
too.
him is a little bit. You don't even need him that much. Just honestly, as him going in for the job would have been funny enough. That's a solid laugh right there.
Yeah, true. But if you want him to sign on, which obviously I think they did, you got kicking back some along with the cash.
And you know what the good part about that is Paul Feig is a director that is able to get great comedy out of people that most people don't expect, i.e. Jason Statham and Spy. He might make Chris Hemsworth a really funny character. So I think maybe he could do it.
Yeah, I was very pleased with that bit of news. I do like Chris Hemsworth. Good for him. Thor.
What else is going on?
I heard this. This was interesting, and this caught my eye because the people involved is pretty funny, and I do like them. Recently, this past week, Ice Cube and Charlie Day has signed on to co-star in a movie together. They're going to be playing teachers that do not like each other, and they decide to get into a fight, fist fight. The movie is titled Fist Fight. It's going to be from New Line. Let's see. That no director has been announced just yet, but they're looking to start production in September. I think that's a cool pairing. Because you got Ice Cube, Kevin Hart, and it seems like they're making Charlie Day's character into like a wimp, nerd type deal. They could have easily done Ice Cube, Kevin Hart too, and make Kevin Hart the, grown little man that he's played so very well. But giving Charlie Day the chance to sign, I like that. I think they have definitely good chemistry. And
I did see that, and I don't know. The plot just doesn't seem strong enough. I don't know. It doesn't sound like the best idea that I've heard out of Hollywood this week.
No, but I think it's very interesting, and the pairing has got me intrigued.
Last bit of movie news. Louis, I hope you've watched this. I would assume you've watched this because I know how much you love Matt Damon. Have you seen the trailer for The Martian?
No. I put a Jake. I'm like, I don't want to see it just yet. I don't.
Watch that trailer, man.
I heard great things.
The Martian looks amazing. It really does. And especially after the last 2 years having really strong science fiction pictures, I think this is going to possibly be the best one yet. Because Gravity was incredible. Interstellar was okay. But The Martian, I have a feeling it's going to be amazing.
I know there was reports, people saying it's going to be much better than Gravity. You love Gravity.
I love Gravity. And I think Interstellar has great special effects, but beyond that...
Yeah, what would it have to do to beat Gravity, The Martian?
I don't know, man.
A lot, man.
They're describing... to fill all of our listeners in, this movie is based off of a book from Andy Weir and follows a astronaut who thought dead is abandoned on Mars, in space all by himself. Once they discover that this astronaut is alive, it's going to take them at least 4 years to get back to get him. So Matt Damon has to survive in this, I don't know what you necessarily call it, not a station, a space station, or like whatever, his piece of the ship that he has to live on Mars is prepped to sustain for 30 days. So he has to turn 30 days into 4 years. He has to grow his own crops. He's got to he's got to really essentially live out of this.
He has to live on Mars.
Yeah, all by himself. So what it's being claimed as it is Castaway on Mars. And that sounds pretty intense. And what a cast.
Kristen Wiig,
which is obviously the whoa, I want to see this because I want to see what she's doing in here. Jeff Daniels, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Jessica Chastain, who we saw in Interstellar,
and Matt Damon also.
Oh yeah, yep, you're right.
Because people were joking, "Oh, this is coming out," and half the trailers the same people from Interstellar.
Yeah,
awkward.
So there's gonna be a big cast in this. So this movie looks really good. I thought Louis would have seen it, but obviously he's been slacking.
No, I choose not to see it.
All right, well, let's get into the important part of this podcast, and that is to review the new film, Jurassic World. As we do when Louis doesn't see a picture, Louis is going to take the role of Q&A, he's going to ask to take the role of the questioner, as I take the role of answerer, as we do a Q&A about Jurassic World. But before we do that, let's talk about Jurassic Park a little bit, Louis. What is your experience with Jurassic Park? Do you remember the first time you've seen it, and how do you feel about these movies?
Yeah, first time, it was funny because I was just talking with my parents about the first time I saw Jurassic Park. Now, obviously, it came out in 1993, so I was 1. So obviously, I didn't see it in the theaters, but I remember that we were still living in Virginia. So I was young, maybe I was 4 or 5 years old at the time, 6 at the max. My uncle brought over Jurassic Park on VHS, and we just had this new surround sound system set up. So I guess he picked this would be great to experience the surround sound. So he put it in, first time exposed, and I remember the surround sound was so loud every time T-Rex or any of the dinosaurs were roar, I would generally get scared. It was just powerful. But watching it and hearing that music and seeing the T-Rex come in at the end and save the day was amazing. Since then, I've seen it multiple times, and every time I watch it, I've become more impressed, more in love, more in awe of this film, of what Steven Spielberg was able to create. I think the lasting achievement of this film is how good the effects look today, and this film was made in 93. I think that's amazing. It holds a candle to every film out today, and it doesn't look dated once. It looks amazing. I love the kids, Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, everything about the movie I absolutely love. 2 years ago, when it came out on 3D in theaters, I was able to see it in the movie theater. And that was a great experience. That film is another type of Steven Spielberg film that you need to watch on the big screen in a theater because the experience is just amazing. I love that one. I've seen the sequels. I think I've seen both 2 and 3 in the movie theaters because I love the first one so much. And I did enjoy it, but obviously it has, no comparison to the original. It kind of was disappointing, but it was passable enough where you could watch it and still have fun with it. And, so that's where I stand with Jurassic Park. How about you?
The first time I watched Jurassic Park, it was also on VHS, and I think that movie is just truly one of the most ideal examples of movie magic. I mean, I watched that movie in wonder and in awe, and like you, I was able to see the 3D re-release, and it just held, 22 years later, it still holds all that magic, all that wonder, all that greatness, and it's still amazing to watch, and not one effect looks outdated.
It's amazing.
It is incredible. It is honestly one of the most iconic films in cinematic history. I mean, the score, one of the greatest scores ever. The emotion, the heart, the fear. I mean, it's such an experience that it's easily, I think, in everyone's favorites lineup for one of their favorite movies of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of the score, I think it just cracked like the top 10 songs on iTunes again.
Yeah, I believe
so that's pretty cool.
That song is so great. It's hard I would be surprised for anyone who doesn't like that score. And the fact that, I forget his name. Michael Giannocco is going to be taking on the score for this film, adapting, John Williams' score. And from what I've heard so far, it's pretty awesome. Well, all right, I guess I'm not doing a video here, so I've heard it, and it is awesome. Using the video reviews, never mind. But yeah, I don't remember Jurassic Park 3 at all. And the only thing I remember about The Lost World is when the little girl gets attacked in the very beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I don't really remember the other two.
Yeah, well, granted, I haven't seen it as much, but I remember when last year, I think at the midway point when we list our favorite movies of the year so far, they were doing a marathon on AMC. So I was catching them pretty much on a nightly basis. And, graphics still look good, obviously. And it was fun, like not terrible, but not amazing, But I'm not surprised they're returning to this franchise, trying to reboot it, because most people, the third one kind of left a bad taste. Even though William H. Macy's in it, and you can't go wrong with that. Come on now.
I don't remember him in it.
He was great. Like watching it again, he's William H. Macy, man. If you like him, you're gonna, like him in that.
Well, 22 years after the first, and 14 years since we visited Jurassic Park for the last time, now comes the new film from Colin Trevorrow, Jurassic World. Louis, this is where you're going to take on the role of questioner as I explain my review of Jurassic World.
Now, the first thing I want to bring up fast is the director, Colin Trevorrow. Did you see Safety Not Guaranteed?
I did not. I think this is the first thing I've seen from Colin Trevorrow.
Okay, because I did see that actually, and it's kind of funny how when I think of that film and what he did with that, there's no comparison to what he was embarking on Jurassic. Two completely different film. But the best aspect of Safety Not Guaranteed was the characters, the interactions. It was a lovely, quiet indie film that got you connected with the characters. So you think you could bring that to the big budget film, bring the heart, the characters to life. But how was he handling making? It's a big jump from small indie to a sequel to Jurassic Park. Huge jump. So Jacob, you seen it, you watched it, you digested it, you thought about it. How was the transition? How was this sequel, this franchise going?
I don't think Colin Trevorrow did a bad job at all. I think actually he did a great job with what he was given and what he had to work with. I guess before I could even talk more about it, I enjoyed this picture. I liked it. I thought it was a fun ride. I think it was as fun as an amusement park ride should be. However, when you come out following the name of Jurassic Park, like we said, one of the most iconic films of all time, it's hard to top. It's hard to be compared because you're not gonna be able to stand against that film. There's a lot of great in this movie, and there's also a lot of issues in this movie. I think it's a good movie. It's a fun ride, and it's a solid sequel. Mind you, Jurassic World is supposed to be an immediate sequel to Jurassic Park. I think it's an effective sequel. It's a good number 2 to a series, but it is no Jurassic Park. But overall, I think it's a very fun, effective movie, a great popcorn thriller to kind of start off this month, or the summer.
So, how was the effects? Did they add anything new to the dinosaurs?
You know what? That was interesting, is there were some really great effects in this movie. Mm-hmm. But when you're watching the actual dinosaurs, I honestly feel that the Jurassic Park effects were just as good as the effects that they had now. So either Jurassic Park was one of the most innovative, CGI dinosaurs ever. Mm-hmm. Because there was CGI dinosaurs actually in Jurassic Park. Most were animatronic, but there were CGI cuts. But the dinosaurs, I mean, they look great. The CG, the effects were great, but at the same time, like, they don't look any better than they did in Jurassic Park, which kind of says something. So, I'm not sure if that says something in the lack of quality of effects in this movie, because the effects are good. There's nothing that seems off or poor about the effects in this film, but it just so happens that Steven Spielberg did it wonderfully the exact same way 22 years ago. So he was obviously really innovative.
Yeah, that's as much as a compliment towards him.
But I mean, we get new dinosaurs and we get, all these mixes of dinosaurs, but overall, I mean, the effects are good. And, they're strong. But to me, I was like, wow, I think those dinosaurs are about the equivalent of how good the dinosaurs were in the first Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm. Now, since you mentioned the hybrid, the mixing of dinosaurs, how do you think that played? Because I know, like, in the original Jurassic Park, they talked about using reptile DNA to finish the missing DNA pieces of dinosaurs. And that made sense. Okay, I got that. That makes...
Yeah.
But from the trailers, it seemed like they were really changing the dinosaur. Like, it's not so much a dinosaur anymore than a hybrid mix-up of now a monster beast.
It is most of the dinosaurs are the same. There are a few that are hybrids. For instance, there's a pterodactyl, which I believe is the flying dinosaur with like a T-Rex head. That one's obviously a hybrid. But the Indominus Rex, the superstar of this movie, is a breed of many different things. And what this movie implies, which the original Jurassic Park does not, is that when you're mixing all of these genes, you're going to be able to do things that those genes are capable of. So without giving too much away, for instance, if one of these genetics, if it was from a frog or from a creature that could adapt its blood level, its blood temperature, make itself not radiate heat, this dinosaur could do the same. So it definitely wasn't like a dinosaur. It was more like a monster created in a lab. But it didn't bother me either. I mean, there is a reach. There's a point where this movie gets like, you have to really suspend your disbelief to buy in this movie. And everyone's like, well, what about Jurassic Park? I honestly feel like Jurassic Park is so... I'm not a scientist. I don't need to be a scientist, but I buy Jurassic Park in a heartbeat. I buy the mosquitoes. This, you're stretching. You're stretching on me, man. I mean, we got guys training raptors. We got, we have hybrid dinosaur. I mean, it's a little bit more of a stretch. So... But they say in the movie, literally, Bryce Dallas Howard says, kids look at dinosaurs and it's like seeing an elephant. It doesn't amaze them anymore. And I think that's very prominent to seeing how we are in the movie world now. Like, when we saw dinosaurs with the use of CGI and animatronics in 1993, it was as big as a spectacle. I mean, I say when our two main characters in Jurassic Park first see dinosaurs at Jurassic Park, their look of amazement and awe when that music kicks in is the exact same way I feel when I watch that movie. Where was I going with this?
Well, nowadays.
So yeah, nowadays it's easy to be like, oh, well, they could do that with CGI. It's no big deal. So I think that was definitely a challenge, and I think that's kind of why they went in the hybrid direction. Because literally in the park with low maintenance or low attendance, they want something, quote, bigger and with more teeth, unquote. So,
and I guess that makes sense because if this park's been open,
and
people have seen it, they get tired of it. They want something new.
Yeah, and mind you, they want a dinosaur brought to you by Verizon Wireless because in this movie, all dinosaurs are sponsored, which actually was also very, very believable too. I bought that part like no problem.
It would be probably sponsored to some capacity.
Verizon Wireless brings you the Indominus Rex.
That's pretty funny.
Well, that's really a thing. That's what it is, So I'm sure, all I got to say is I'm sure Verizon really regrets that decision.
So it did play well. You got me all confused with Verizon now.
Verizon in the movie is actually like goes to this camp to see this dinosaur and they actually sponsor him. So what this dinosaur actually ends up doing is probably really bad for business.
Of course it is. But it played well. The monster hybrid.
Yeah, I mean, it worked.
It got its cheap throws. So it scared the audience somewhat, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't think this movie had the same feeling as the original Jurassic Park. The original Jurassic Park is definitely like a fearful, thriller of running for your life, where this movie, though that element is there somehow, it's more of actually these people fighting back and how they're going to take on this dinosaur rather than running and trying to survive. So the feeling is different.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of the feeling of the film, I know you mentioned this in your review about the theme of Jurassic Park compared to this one. How that in Jurassic Park, you definitely get a sense of theme that, okay, what's pushing the boundaries? What's pushing ethics? Are the scientists going too far in bringing back the dinosaurs? Where do you stop? But at the same time, do you keep pushing it because it's reliving Earth's history?
Jeff Goldblum asked a lot of great thematical questions in that movie. It just has a lot of ideas and it has a lot of message, a lot of purpose.
Life always finds a way, as Ian would say. Does this film carry on that, or does it dumb it down? I guess you would. And
I just don't feel like this movie has a purpose.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly right, Lou. It concentrates on the teeth. There's no real characters to get emotionally attached to. Those two kids in the first Jurassic Park, I cared so much about, and I wanted them to live so bad. I don't have that investment in anyone in this movie, and it's more about the dinosaurs looking cool, doing cool things, making them bigger, badder. And surprisingly, the other thing about the film that I have to really compliment that they designed wasn't a dinosaur, but it was actually the dinosaur park. Jurassic World was one of the coolest aspects of this whole movie. The design, the aesthetics, the actual building of this theme park made me feel like I was in line at Universal Studios. Made me feel like I was walking into a theme park. That excitement you get when you actually walk past those bars that when you walk through, they rotate just so they can keep count. I was excited, man. I felt so excited to be there. And that was, I think, one of the most powerful things this movie delivered was creating a world, was the world building that was absolutely strong and beautiful.
You mentioned this now. Obviously, one of the best aspects of Jurassic Park, if not the best one, is how well all the characters mesh, how much we love the characters. Obviously, when you think of Jurassic Park, you think about those poor kids. Mm-hmm. You love those poor kids. They were great. And you love their interaction with, Sam Neill, who doesn't want kids, but luck has it that he has to take care of these kids facing dinosaurs. Then Laura Dern's doctors, this is amazing. Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum. There's so many great characters in Jurassic Park. You kind of hinted that didn't work out this time around. How was Chris Pratt? Talk about Bryce Howard, right?
That's the
Bryce
problem.
Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah. There is no real emotional connection. I mean, Chris Pratt is good in the movie. He's interesting, he's fun, but he's not someone I care about. He's not someone I'm invested in. Same goes with Bryce Dallas Howard or Dallas Bryce Howard, whichever one it is. She's good as well, but she's not someone I care about. She's not someone that I'm rooting for or worried about, because they're just simply there to make the dinosaurs look good. Someone there to kind of to contrast the dinosaurs. And the kids in this movie who play are actually Bryce Dallas Howard's nephews, are really good, but their chemistry and the emotional scenes filmed so forced that it's really off-putting. I think both of them have abilities as actors that are seen in this movie. But for instance, when we have an emotional moment about this young boy and his brother talking about his parents getting divorced, it just feels so forced. It feels out of nowhere. It doesn't click. And though I don't want them to get killed because I'm just not a psycho, I don't have that investment in them like I do in Jurassic Park, because I feel like I'm watching two actors whose chemistry and scenes aren't meshing and they aren't focused and they really lack truth, and so that made the movie a little bit harder to swallow.
So the big takeaway from this is it's still fun entertainment. They captured the marvel of creating this terrific theme park that I think if it was present today, many people would be going.
Not me.
No, well, wiser heads prevail
James
here.
said he'd go.
Of course he would.
I'd be tempted, though.
It'd be interesting, but, the risk is
Yeah.
not, the risk definitely outweigh the rewards in that one. But the main problems is that movie has no purpose. Not as meaningful, I guess, as Jurassic Park, and the characters are not the same.
Yeah, and the characters aren't the same, and it just kind of lacks a focus. The movie has 15 different ideas. It wants to do 15 different things, and it doesn't feel centered, it doesn't feel focused, and that kind of takes away the strong delivery. But if you want to read more from my review of Jurassic World, make sure to chasingcinema.com/Jurassic World. That's going to wrap it up for this week, guys. Next week, join me as I have Christina Willis, author of Baja Brody, a children's book, on to talk about her book and how she's a Vegas local, and talking about her upcoming events. Right after we review Disney Pixar's Inside Out. So make sure to tune in next week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Toronto, and today I'm joined by my loyal, faithful co-host / best friend,
Louis Corzo.
And please continue chasing cinema.